In this video, I want to talk about history in Photoshop. History you can think of kind of like a list of all of the actions you've performed in Photoshop. It ties into your undos, so if you like the idea of having multiple undos in Photoshop, you're going to do that through history. And it can also be a little bit like time travel. There's some very cool things you can do in history that allow you to kind of jump back in time to a previous version of your document. Now, to get started, I have already created a brand new canvas, which is 15 inches by 15 inches at 72 dpi, so I think it's 1080 by 1080 if you want to create the same size document, though really it's not going to matter at all. Let's take a look at your history panel. Now, if you're using the Essentials workspace, which hopefully you are, if you're not, just click on it up at the top of your UI, and then you can drop down to the little menu at the right there and click Reset Essentials. The history panel is available by default in the Essentials area just by clicking on the little icon for it located here, just to the left of the main panel area. Also, if you want, you can go under Window and jump down to History and open that up. Now, currently, you'll see we already have one current action. This is actually considered a state in history, and that was when I went to File and chose New. If I was to close out my document altogether, you'll notice that the history window is blank. And watch this. If we go to File, choose New, click OK, that new action, that thing that I just did, is already recorded as a single point in history. Now, to really kind of drive home exactly what history is going to do for you, I'm going to get my brush out. So hit the B key, and I've got the color blue selected right now, which is just as good as anything else. And let's draw a stick figure. So actually, let's just do a simple smiley. We'll keep this really basic for now. So 1, 2, 3 brush strokes to make the world's most amazing smiley. And if we take a look over here inside of history, we have 3 different uses of the brush tool, which just got recorded. Now, inside the history panel, I can click on any one of these historical states and see where I was at that point. So here's the present, so to speak. I can go up 1, and we lose our smile, then we lose the left eye, and then we lose the right eye. And we can click down through each one of those. In that sense, it becomes a lot like undos. As a matter of fact, if I hit Control-Alt-Z, that's analogous to just stepping back through history. If I hit Control-Shift-Z instead, I'm stepping back forward. So that's very much like undo and redo. Honestly, in Photoshop, I practically never just use Control-Z anymore. I'm always using Control-Alt-Z and stepping back through my history. So just food for thought if you're kind of doing the same thing on your own. Using Control-Alt-Z is like having the multiple undos, but that's because of your history. So every little thing you do is going to be recorded. So let me switch over to, say, a different color. Let's go with some shade of red. And we could give this guy a little beard. And so he's now a little, red beard, the smiley, well, not quite pirate, I guess. But we still see those first 3 initial strokes. So if we jump all the way back, we lose that. And as we step through each individual state in history, you'll notice one stroke, one use of that brush tool disappearing each time we go. So it's very easy to see how that works. Now, by default, you are limited to 20 states in history. It's important to know because if you sit here and you just keep on drawing, so I really thicken up his beard and make that look nice, and then maybe we add on a mustache, which also looks pretty amazing. If we scroll back up to the top and I go all the way to my very first state, we haven't made it all the way back to where that smiley was created anymore. That's because we are only, by default, allowed 20 different states. And if you were to count these up, there'd be 20 of these here. You can increase this. You just have to be a little bit careful about going overboard. Because once I show you how to do this, some part of you, whether you admit it or not, is going to be like, well, let's just set it to the highest number and forget about it. That's fine, but that can be very, very memory intensive on your machine. So you want to be careful with this. You can go under Edit, Preferences, and go under Performance. And anytime you see performance, you should know that you're doing something that could potentially be detrimental to your computer. Not necessarily on a permanent basis, but it could slow things down. I will often take my history states and crank them up to somewhere over 100. Now you'll notice your first 100 come pretty slowly, and then as you start to drag to the end, this will go all the way up to 1,000. 1,000 is your limit, and 1,000 is probably more than you'll ever need. In fact, probably 100 is probably about as much as you'd really, really ever need. Now, I don't really want to use 100 just to prove my point. In fact, let me jump back in there, jump back over to performance. I'm going to set this over to 30 instead of 20. So it'll give me 10 more levels. And if we jump back down here like so, actually, pardon me for a moment. Let's just do this. Let's hit Control A, and I'll hit Control X for cut, and that'll clear everything out. And you'll notice we get cut pixels here. I'm going to jump all the way back up to my final state. Actually, let's just, I'm sorry. Let me just do this. So here's cut pixels, and then we'll just kind of work from here. So I'll start drawing something else. Let's do a little stick figure. So I've got my brush, actually it's my pencil. Let me tap B a few more times, and we'll do a little stick figure. And we give him some feet and some fingers. He's like the most amazing stick figure ever, obviously. And he's angry about something. He's like, you know, I can't believe that you messed up my hamburger. So he's obviously pretty upset about that. Now, watch really closely. I'm going to... We got to be close. Yeah, we've already hit our 30. So right here we are at cut pixels, and now we've used all 30 of our states. So I can go all the way back up to here, and that'll blank out my canvas. And then we can step through each point in history and see each one of those appearing. So you can see how this can be a bit like undos. Okay, I think I've got that pretty much in. Let's talk about a few of these other things you can do with history that are very, very cool. I'm going to erase those little clouds coming off our guy here. And let's just say that I like where this is, and I want to be able to get to this point in history at any time, no matter what else I do. I can take a snapshot of this point in history. And if we take a look here inside the history panel, there's this little tiny camera icon. It says Create New Snapshot. I'm going to click on that. And at the top of the history panel, we have the Untitled One document. That is that's an automatic snapshot that takes place when you create a new document. It's an easy way to go all the way back to just having a blank canvas. At any time, you can just click on that state. So you can just draw and do all kinds of crazy things, and if I just keep on tapping, we've now cycled through all of our historical states, so there's no way I could undo all the way back, but at any point I can just click on Untitled One, and that takes me all the way back to back when we had a blank canvas. But I also saved another snapshot when we drew our little angry guy, so I can click on that and bring him back at any time. Even if I come over here and grab a new color, let's go with some sort of bright green, and I could paint all over him. Actually, let's decorate him a little bit, shall we? Let's say we undo all this, or let's just go back to that point, that snapshot. And then I'll start from here, and we'll give him some green hair. And then, I don't know, we'll give him some green shoes. And we'll change the color to some shade of blue. And we'll give him a blue shirt, because that's cool. And then we'll give him blue eye lasers. But anyway, at some point we're like, you know what, I'm really losing focus of what I'm doing here. Let's just jump all the way back to that snapshot. It's just a way that you can take a moment in your work, no matter what it is you're doing, and record it out so that you can reference back to it later. Now, I do want to mention these snapshots do not get saved along with the file. So if I was to do something really erratic to this guy, like if I make my brush really big and I paint over his head, make this great big blue balloon head and then blue balloon hands, and then I was to save this out, so let's just go to File, Save, and we'll call this temp for now. Save that out, and we'll close it. It's gone. Go to File, Open, and there's my temp file. Check it out. That original state that just got me back to that just the guy himself, that is now gone. So these history states do not go along with your save file. Keep that in mind, because if you get attached to a historical state, you need to do something to keep it active. And let me show you how you can go about doing that. Let me go back to my brush here, and we'll draw, well, let's just do like something really simple again. So we'll do a little face. There you go, and obviously he's pretty happy, just kind of jammed out there. Now, I'm going to save this out as a snapshot, and of course, while I'm here inside the document, I can go back to my original when we first opened things up. I can go to this new snapshot, but I have another option as well. If you load it, notice down here at the very bottom of the history panel, you have Create New Document from Current State. And if I click on this, we get a new document automatically called Snapshot 1. So if I come over here to temp.psd up in my tabs, we can go all the way back over here to when we first opened the document. We can make any kind of changes we want. We could maybe just erase everything, grab my brush, and just draw something new entirely, because that snapshot is now all in its own document. We can save that out and do anything we want with it. It's a very, very useful feature. It's kind of like a save as with a single click. It can save you a whole lot of time and effort. So keep that in mind. Now, granted, this has not yet been saved officially. So if your computer switched off or somebody came over and unplugged it from the wall, you would still lose this work. So make sure that you did hit Control S and save this out. And it's already named Snapshot 1, though you would probably want to give it a more meaningful name. So that is a look at history. Again, I like to think of history really just in the sense of multiple undos, and quite often when I'm working on my own, I will jump into preferences, go into performance, and I'll set this to somewhere around 100 or over, just in case I really have to march back through a lot of different states. Now, everybody's mileage is going to vary. If you have a computer with very little memory or very little hard drive space, then you probably will not want to set your history states quite so high. You'll want to leave those relatively low, but by all means, tweak and adjust as you see fit for your particular machine. Now that is going to wrap things up for this quick discussion over history. Thank you very much for watching.